So today I'm delighted to have Jamie Wallis, who's head of BD, International Corporate and Special Projects at DLA Piper. Thank you very much for joining us, Jamie.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Thanks, pleasure. So, Jamie, DLA is the largest law firm we've had on BD TV to date. How are things with you at the moment?
Things are overall pretty good, Peter. So I think the firm, as I think most law firms have actually, from what I see and people I know and speak to, has responded very well to the crisis from a leadership point of view. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned from the financial crisis last time round, and many people, and I think that's still quite alive in the memories of leadership teams. So I think the messages we've had within DLA from the off have been, I think, very genuine, and I think that's really important because people see through it if it's not. A real clear message to date around the desire to maintain jobs and a sense really actually of us all being in it together. So partner drawings being suspended and that sort of thing. So I think the firm's responded very well. I think the communication from our leadership has been excellent. In fact, I know other colleagues feel the same, probably feel more informed around what's going on in the firm at the moment than any time that I've been here. And I think the other thing that really comes through is the importance of people's mental health and well-being. And my point about being genuine earlier, that has felt very genuine as well. So resources available to people, regular surveys, regular temperature checks as to how people are feeling, and help around that has been really helpful.
Good. I think it's been a time over the last 4 months, hasn't it, for firms to put their money where their mouth is and bring some of that rhetoric to life. So I'm really pleased on mental health.
I think that's right. I think that's right, actually. And our firm spent a lot of time rolling out a new set of values about 18 months ago, and it was done very well. That could very quickly be unravelled if they don't handle things like this very well. And actually, I think it's just reinforced those values way this has been led. So it's been good.
Good. Thanks, Jamie. And how are your team in BD responding?
Quite simply, I think really well. I think, like many other firms you've had on here, Peter, across the different sort of sectors you've had, we've had to adapt pretty quickly and readjust. A firm of our size, when you look at our size, we've got in over 40 countries, we've got 90 plus offices, we've got 10 international sector groups, we've got 7 international practice groups. That's quite a big and complex matrix. And of course, during the early stages of the COVID-19, everybody had a lot to say, and everybody had a good, interesting thing to say. So there was a tsunami, if you like, of content being produced. And I think our team, I don't claim any credit for this whatsoever, but particularly our comms guys, our digital guys, our team in Warsaw, our service centre, responded extremely well and extremely quickly to manage that and have a process in place to manage the content. So I think we came out of that very well from an early stage. And I think, of course, we've had to adapt. So people like our events teams have had to adapt and are now very quickly experts at running online sessions with clients, webinars, etc. So there's been adaptation, and I think people have coped on the whole pretty well with it.
Yeah, and you don't. Is it allowing people to work together more, or do you find people dropping into silos? And I know sectors have always been very important for DLA, or certainly in the years I've known them. Is there more emphasis going on that sector approach?
Yeah, so I mean, if I may, if I'll come to that in a moment, I think the point there, the first point of the question in terms of do we come together more, I think definitely yes. I think actually in a slightly perverse sort of way, I'm sure like many other firms on this call or listening in, we're under pressure with our marketing and BD budgets. But actually, I don't view that as a bad thing, because I actually think it will force us to work closer together in a more collaborative way, rather than, as I described, every practice group, every sector, every location having their own budget and having enough to do what they want. If they haven't got that, we're going to have to collaborate far more. So I look at it from a positive point of view in that way as well.
Yeah.
But in reference to your point about sectors, yes, so we've got 10 international sectors here. I think a lot of good work has happened, particularly in the last couple of years, to really help embed those. And I'm very much of the view that I think as a firm, if you haven't got a genuine, and I say genuine, sector strategy in place at the moment, then I think you will be slightly more exposed.
Yeah.
Because clearly different sectors are having a different sort of crisis, you know, or and it might sound a bit of a weird thing to say, but pharma and healthcare sectors, for example, are having perhaps a good crisis, whereas obvious sectors like aviation, leisure, restaurants are having a disastrous time of it. So I think having a handle on that and being very cognizant of that and aware of that in conversations with clients is really important. And of course, even within sectors, you've got nuances. So if you look at something like the energy sector, and I talk to my colleagues in the energy team, something like renewables is really strong. Oil and gas is on the floor. So even within sectors, there are going to be differences. And I think it's just so important we've got a proper grip on that.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. One thing you've mentioned is you know how you keep on top of that and how you think about the different scenarios, what the outcome is. We're all sitting here at the moment, trying to put our best guess on that. What are you doing practically at DLA to try and project what's happening and plan for it?
Yeah, so the firm undertook a very extensive scenario planning exercise. So with the help of external experts, consultants in scenario planning, also a virologist was part of that team as well, if you like. And they spent, and I say they, I was not personally involved in this, but they spent a lot of time across our international network, bringing people together. And that was interesting, the ability to bring people together very quickly, you know, over Zoom or whatever it would be, that would normally be about 3 or 4 months in the planning to physically get people together. You know, but in a space of a few days, you get people together. And they spent serious chunks of time looking at potential scenarios in a macro sense. So, for example, if Trump wins or Biden wins, what's the knock-on effect going to be? US-China relationships, what's the knock-on effect of that going to be, etc. And they came up with a number of macro themes, and then those macro themes were overlaid across each of our sectors, and this is where our sector BD folk got heavily involved as well, to really look at it, apply those macro issues, if you like, and trends or potential scenarios with a sector view. So as a result of that, and again, a serious amount of time and investment went into that, but it's allowed our teams to start having a very different sort of conversation with our clients, that perhaps goes away from the normal lawyer conversation with a client. And it's also provided a lot of rich content that's now being worked on and developed, you know, in a variety of marketing communication ways, podcasts, webinars, white papers, social media, etc., that can be shared. And I think having that very organized approach will help differentiate the conversations we're having with our clients.
Yeah, no, really interesting. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
One mantra I understand you have in the firm is around radical change. What does that mean in practice?
Okay. So radical change, it's a key element of our strategy, and we have a vision here of becoming the leading global business law firm, and the word business is really important in that statement, because I think there's an absolute recognition that just being the traditional law firm as it stands now won't cut it in years to come. So I don't need to tell people listening in that things are changing and have been for some time, but probably gathering some pace now around how things are changing through automation, through AI, Big Four coming into the legal market far more so, alternative legal providers, and law firms like ours, like our competitors, have to find ways to respond to that. So our vision is very much to become far more, if you like, partners in business with our clients, rather than just being that traditional law firm. So that's all great, and I'm sure lots of other firms would say something similar. So, but the radical change element of that is, a radical change can mean, if you like, many things to many people. There's 4 key strands to that in the way that we look at it, and I'm happy to touch on them.
Please.
I can talk about some more than others, but you have design and service design, you have data, you have digital technology, and you have consulting as elements of our radical change program. And we have what's called our Change Council. So that's about 14, 15 people from around the business that had to apply to be on it. So it wasn't just them being tapped on the shoulder and the old favourites sort of coming into the fold. So genuinely diverse group, led by Simon Levine, our CEO. He's very hands-on with it. Number of partners, some associates, myself, and the person with probably the best job title in our firm, Jana, who is our change maker, and she is really steering the boat, if you like, on this. And I think what's different for us. Sorry, go on, Peter.
No. I just want to know, as I'm sure people listening will, what's coming out of it? What's it producing? Is it a talking shop, or is it producing useful stuff?
Yeah. So let me just touch on those 4 elements quickly then, and as I say, I can talk to some more than others. Unfortunately, the consulting bit I can't really do in any great degree, because I'm just restricted in terms of what I can say on that, other than keep your eye out, because there'll be some interesting stuff coming out the firm around, hopefully, our consulting. Data, maybe some people might think that's a bit drier, but actually a firm like ours produces so much huge volume of data, and we don't, like I'm sure most firms, don't maximise that. So we've got a team of data scientists that are using the data we've got and we're collecting to allow us to make better informed decisions. Things like pricing models created, better forward-looking trend analysis, that sort of stuff. So that's coming out. That's something that's absolutely started to happen. Digital, number of products being looked at. Probably the best example so far is something we've developed called our crisis simulation product. So that guides clients through complex and challenging infrastructure projects. Excuse me. Come out of a result actually of a lot of the learnings from the work the firm did on the Carillion crash back in 2017, 2018. But actually, I mean, that idea didn't come out of the Change Council, that came out of the business. But they brought the idea to the Change Council, asked for funding for that and permission, if you like, to go away and develop it. And, a 6-figure sum was invested to roll that product out, start using that now with clients, and it's only recently been launched, but it's got some very positive feedback from people. So things starting to emerge in that way. And the other area, and it's the area probably that I'm most closely aligned to, is around design. So using design thinking as a way to really get under the skin of our clients, or if you like, our end users, because you can use it internally as well, but our clients' real needs. Now, you might say, well, BD people, we do that all the time, and lawyers will say, yeah, but I'm always thinking about my client. How often have you sat in a room? We probably sat in a room, and we sit down to try and brainstorm an idea, and the most dominant person, perhaps the most senior person, says, I've got a great idea, and we all fall in behind that idea because we kind of just accept that, and away we go. And it's probably not the best idea. It's not really been tested, out of which comes a pet project and a product that might look great, but actually nobody really wants and nobody's going to buy or use. So this is very much an approach and a very much a framework and a methodology to help us really get under the skin of users' needs and really allow us to create ideas and test those ideas as we go along.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm going to move in a moment to the formal Q&A, but just before I do, I'd like to stay on that point of change and And the poll that I'm gonna put to people today is asking what will happen to the profession's appetite for change in the second half of 2020, because it's something I'd love to know myself, and I'm getting conflicting views back from people I'm talking to. So, some saying actually there's going to be a pretty low appetite because people have endured so much enforced change that's been we've had to live through it, and others are saying actually the last 4 months have shown the benefits of working differently, and we need to expand our horizons a bit and embrace that. So I'm putting that to people today. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to respond, if I will. And there's some very very clear indications coming back early from that. And then, Jamie, if I may pass the results back to you, I'd love to get your view on what you're seeing and hearing within DLA and talking with your clients. So here we are. So 3/4 of people have just voted. So I'll just end it now, if I may, and share the results with you. Are you able to see that, Jamie, on screen?
I can see that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for the benefit of people watching the recording of this on YouTube, there's been an absolutely stonking win for 79% of respondents have said there's going to be a much higher appetite for change as following what we've just been through. Does that mirror what you're seeing and hearing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's right. I think I suppose it depends what the change is slightly. So, but I think I think that's right. If you look at it from a how we're working perspective, being able to work from home in the way that we are, and use of technology and all that sort of good stuff, I think that's right. And I also definitely think it'll be client led, some of this as well. How we interact and serve our clients would I'm sure change. I think it would be. I can't see us just going back completely to the old norm. I think people accept. Actually, do you know what? There's an element here around change. People, maybe a good thing that'll come out of this is people will be slightly less scared of change because they've had to adapt and realise that they can be quite adaptable.
Yeah. We've both, I'm sure, over the years worked with people who are quite a conservative bunch, and maybe this is a sort of jumping in the deep end.
Yeah, we'll see. Hope so.
Yes, I hope so. So, Jamie, I'm going to turn to some of the questions that have come in, and one slightly cheeky question, if you don't mind me starting with it. You're clearly a very straight talking, no nonsense person. How do you navigate all the buzzwords and bull and keep people focused on making a practical difference?
Around design thinking, or you mean in general, or?
Well, as you talked about design thinking and the radical change and that global change committee and so on, I think I'm sure I'm sure there's times you pick up some of these words and you think, how do you delineate that has value? I'm going to use that. I'm going to endorse that, and actually that is just hype, and that is
That's good. It's a good question, and actually, do you know what? It's a challenge, because when we created our approach to design thinking, we call it DLA design. We did it with help of external agency who just do this. They do design thinking all the time. And some of the language that they were using, we were just going, oh no, you just can't kind of use that. It won't sit here. We've got to adapt what we're doing and saying a bit. And if I can give a quick example, because I think this is where it starts to resonate with people. When we start to build stories of processes internally we can change, but I think more interestingly, where we're using this with clients, and we are, then I think it starts to resonate with people. So if I can just maybe share a quick story. Please. Where when we opened up in Dublin a year or so ago, we spoke to a number of businesses out there, and there was the legal team of a big international bank are based there, or certainly a large chunk of their legal team. And they had said to us, delighted to talk to you. And actually that's timely, because we think we need some legal tech. It's going to help us deliver what we need to do to the business. And so the lawyers quite rightly brought in one of our legal tech experts, and they brought in Jana, the lady I mentioned earlier. And a couple of simple questions from Jana just changed what they thought they needed. So when they were saying they needed some legal text, a simple question around what is the problem you're actually trying to solve here,
Mm.
opened up a load more questions.
Mm.
And as a result, they had a short, condensed design thinking session. And actually what really emerged from that, the observations that were emerging from that, was a lack of stakeholder management between the legal team and their key stakeholders, and a lack of ability to demonstrate the value that they are adding to their business. And which made them go, actually, this isn't about legal tech, is it? This is a whole communication thing. This is a whole different way of actually how we work. And we could have given them some legal help to advise them on some legal tech, but they'd have spent money on it, they'd have bought some tech, they never really would have used it, and it never really would have solved their problem. But by really peeling it back and understanding what the fundamental problems were, we were able to give better guidance and advice. And actually, at the end of the day, they did implement some legal tech as well, but that was an add-on to what perhaps they initially needed. And I think when you share stories back with people in that way, they go, oh, okay, I think I get that now, and I can see through the odd buzzword or the odd word that makes me roll my eyes.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Thank you. Great response. One question that's just come in is from Dominic Ayres. It says you touched on practice group sector collaboration, and people are so stretched at the moment, pulled in different directions. How do you ensure that the different teams know what each other are doing? Any quick?
Yeah, it's a really good question, very pertinent question. And in fact, I was on a leadership call this morning. We were talking about exactly that challenge. And as I said, particularly on a global level, that is a challenge. I don't have a simple answer to that. I'd probably go a bit old school with that, in terms of just saying, communication is just so important. Trying to do things rather than to fuel own egos, but actually checking that you're doing things for the good of the firm, and finding ways to collaborate between teams at an early stage is just really important. And we don't always get that right. We still do stuff and they're launched, and you find out a few days before something's being launched, you think, really? But actually, I think there's an appetite to try and change that, but it's hard.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. What two questions I ask to every guest each week. First of all, on a professional level, what's been your biggest learning, your biggest takeaway from the last 4 months?
I don't know if it's a learning, Peter, or whether it's just an observation or reinforcement of something perhaps I already knew, but has really brought it home. And I used the word earlier, I suppose, but I think it's really shown me how adaptable people are and can be. During the crisis, you've had to respond very quickly. You've had to do things in a different way. The example I used earlier, normally it would have taken us 3 months to put everybody on planes to run that session. Suddenly you're doing it in 2 or 3 days. I think it has opened our eyes to how we can operate differently internally and with our clients. And I think it would be a massive shame if, I don't know, whenever this crisis is over, optimistically 6 months, Christ knows, 18 months, whatever, it would be a real shame if we revert all the way back to the old ways. I think we really need to hang on to some of the good things that have come out of this, because there are good things. Yeah,
agreed. But is there anything you're missing personally?
Well, I suppose there's the obvious things around going to the pub, but that can happen this weekend. I think I'll avoid that because I suspect, unfortunately, it'll be carnage. I think live stuff. So I'm missing watching my live sport. I'm missing my live music. So, but as one of your guy from KPMG a couple of weeks ago did say, and I thought it was a very fair point. We're all right, really. That's slightly first world wishes, that problems that I've got there. If I'm missing a bit of that, so there's people a lot worse off.
And my son, poor son, who supports Arsenal, is now wishing that. He's now wishing live sport hadn't returned.
Well, it could be worse. He could support Watford like me, so tell him he's got away with one there.
He's got it. Jamie, thank you very much. Thanks for being so candid. Thanks for joining us today. And to everyone who's watching now, please come back 2:00 next Thursday. We're going back to New York, and we're going to hear from Grant Thornton International. Thanks very much, and have a good afternoon.